What is up, everybody? We are here with our Week 8 recap. And, Dad, I think the NFL is drunk. I don't know what to make of anything, really, about what's going on this year. It's a week-to-week season. It really is. And we're here going to talk about 7 games in this video, 7 games in another, the fantasy implications, a little bit beyond the box score, snap count stuff, and just our overall opinions. Dad, tomorrow's Halloween. I have 2 questions. 1, any decorations? And 2, what's the best Halloween candy?
No decorations. Being a grumpy ass this year, but we will definitely hand out candy. The best candy is some kind of Reese's.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I like, or the candy bar type things. Those actually, my God, years ago it used to be if you got a full size candy bar, that was a big deal. But now everybody's cheap and they hand out like Starburst or I don't know, the cheap stuff. So
yeah, it has to be Reese's, I think.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If somebody comes knocking at your door and they go trick or treat and they have a beer, do you give them candy?
No, unless it's a fake beard or
yeah, or I'm here getting it for my kid or something like that.
Nah, I mean, you shouldn't, right? Like, geez, come on, just go buy a freaking candy bar for $1 at the liquor store.
Yeah.
But yeah, Halloween. Trade deadline as well, so we'll talk about maybe some stuff. I wish they would push the trade deadline back a little, like a couple of weeks, because it still feels like, especially this year, that the NFL it's still so wide open. Like, so many teams are right at that 3-4, 4-3 range, where it's just like, obviously not all of them are going to make the playoffs, and if you push it back a couple more weeks, I think more teams are going to be willing to sell. Whereas I think a lot of teams are kind of like, no, we're still in it. So, especially with the one more extra wild card that they started a couple years ago. So, anyways, we're gonna get right into it. Starting with the first matchup that we have on the list, and that's the Patriots at the Dolphins. Just starting on the Patriots side, it's just really like it's been all week, all year. There's just nothing really to talk about. Like, they're maybe the best fantasy player on their team, Kendrick Bourne. A lot of people probably started him, or in PPR, he was a good start. He caught a touchdown, 36 yards, but he tore his ACL, and he's out for the year.
Oh, he did?
So, yep, we just got that update.
God. I missed that one.
Yeah, I know he went out with a knee injury catching that touchdown, I think, and then wasn't sure what it was, and yeah, we got about an hour ago a sleeper update saying tore his ACL. Yep.
Okay.
So he's done. It makes Demario Douglas, a rookie, a little more intriguing because he's been involved recently. He had 7 targets in the game, but again, it's hard to get excited about anyone. Ramondre Stevenson, I don't know why they go away from passing him the ball. Like, the games where they actually stay competitive and do well, he gets 5-6 catches. The games where they're not doing well, he gets 2. I wish they would involve him more. Maybe they will with Kendrick Bourne, but yeah, I don't know, Dad. Anything to talk about?
No.
Are Mac Jones' days numbered?
I think the only thing I got to talk about in this game is Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins coach, is 3-1 versus Belichick.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Tua is undefeated. I think one of the games they lost, maybe Tua was out last year. But anyways, on the Dolphins side, I did hear that Tua never had more than, I think, 18 fantasy points and more than 2. He never had 2 touchdowns passing against the Patriots in his career, but he beat that this week. 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was awesome. Mostert got in the end zone. Waddle had his first big game of the year, 120 yards and a touchdown. It's good to see. Tyreek Hill, 112 yards. I think he's the fastest in the Super Bowl era to 1,000. He's already at 1,000 yards this year We're eight games in. Yeah, 8 games in for the Dolphins. So he's on pace to break 2,000 yards. I hope he does it. If he does do it, I hope he does it in a 16-game season, so no one can really say like, "Oh, it was the extra game," But yeah, Dolphins are awesome. We talked about it last week. Are they a fraud? And I didn't necessarily believe it. I was more just asking the question. You know what they do though do that no other team really has done this year is they handle the teams that they're supposed to beat, and no other team this year is doing that. Like all these games are close, or the Chiefs are losing to the Broncos, or the Browns with PJ Walker beating the 40. You know what I mean? Like Eagles are almost losing to Washington. Like Miami they've lost to the couple good teams they played pretty handedly, I guess, but they beat the teams they're supposed to. So what are your thoughts on the
They got one issue though. Their offensive line is a little suspect, and I think it's due to injuries. I don't follow it really close. All I've heard is their offensive line. So if they get their offensive line healthy, then these guys and they get the rookie running back A-Chain, and they get him back, and they're going to be steamrolling people.
No, you're right about the offensive line injuries, because that's definitely. I think they had another one. Isaiah Wynn, I believe, their left guard, got hurt. I don't know the severity of it, but that's not good. Teron Armstead is so important to them. He's on injured reserve. He just can't stay healthy. With Achane, you mentioned him. Are you worried about like Mostert? Like we've gotten what we got out of Mostert, and that ride's kind of coming to an end a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I think as the weather. I don't know what the Dolphins' schedule is, but as the weather starts changing and the Dolphins have to travel somewhere where the weather might not be so good, they're going to need that running game. They're not going to be able to toss the ball around, long bombs all the time in crappy weather. Again, I don't know what their schedule situation, but I'm just, thinking out loud, and, football kind of changes, in the second half of the season, especially, after Thanksgiving. So, but I could look at the Dolphins' schedule, but
well, and to your point, like Mostert since week 3 has not had more than 60% of the snaps. So it's not like he's just been like dominating. Obviously, when Achane was there, Achane was getting a little bit, but even the last few weeks when Achane hasn't been there, he's still out. This last week, 56%, the week before, 53, 61. So I still think he can be very productive with 50% of the snaps, and 13 carries. Did you, I didn't see their schedule either. I forget if they played Buffalo already. I think they did.
Yeah, they got 3 games, the Jets, the Commanders, and the Ravens in the second half of the year, kind of after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So they're going to have to go to those places and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's definitely a good point there. But I think Achane is his window next week or the week? I think it might be next week, like one more week. But we'll see when he comes back. I think they might be. I forget if they're on a bye. They should have their bye coming up soon. I guess we'll figure that out as the weeks go on. But we'll move on to the next game, kind of the Giants and the Jets. The Jets at the Giants.
Wow, what a game!
So the Giants obviously lost Tyrod Taylor in the second quarter, and they had negative passing yards from that point on. They had 2 completions. They threw the ball 7 times from the second quarter when Tyrod got hurt on Tommy DeVito, their third stringer. And my point when I always think about this is, why is he on the team? If he can't throw the ball, like, why is he even? I think he's a third stringer. I understand, maybe like developmental guy, but it's like, really, like, especially with Daniel Jones out. Like, you didn't have another option. I don't know. It was crazy. I mean, the Jets weren't much better. Like, Zach Wilson, I think, had a quarter of his yards in like the last 20 seconds of the game.
Yeah, like the last drive or something, he kind of got his shit together, I heard.
Yep. They were almost set the record for the most punts in the game, which I think they had 25, I think, and I think the record was like 27 or something like that. They almost set the record. 25 punts is insane. Like, just 25 possessions for total is a lot. So, but yeah, I mean, the studs on the team did well, right? For the Jets, Breece Hall, only 17 carries on the ground, but he had 76 through the air and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson had 100 yards. So you're happy with those guys keep producing. You don't really care about everyone else. On the Giants side, Saquon had a big game. Darren Waller left very early with an injury, hamstring, which I think's been bothering him all year. So keep an eye on that. Older guy could miss some time. I don't know what to say really about these teams. Like, their defenses, I think the Giants defense is much improved since they made almost beat Buffalo, and then last week they made Sam Howell look silly, and then this week, it's the Jets, but they still obviously forced all those punts and stuff. So, man, this team should, I don't know, like, should they kind of tank?
Blow up?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah.
It really does.
I see the coach, Giants coach, Brian Daboll. He's a grumpy bastard on the sideline, man. He likes reaming people out and stuff like that, and kind of an old school. Instead of "come here, let me give you a hug" or "everything will be okay," but I kind of feel sorry for him. He's obviously a good coach and he knows what the hell he's doing. It's just like, man, this ain't working here. You're stuck with Daniel Jones for another year or two. They seem to be able to get out of these contracts, but like, what are you gonna do with Saquon? 36 carries. Wow, they worked the hell out of him, and it's too bad. He deserves better too. So,
should they trade him, Saquon?
No,
I know they said they should. They are.
Yeah, I know, and they've already come out and said they're not going to trade him. I mean, I think it'd be a PR nightmare or something, but but he's able to walk after the end of the year, so I don't know.
Yeah. The
it's crazy.
Daniel Jones is going to be on this team until 2020 through 2024 season. If they cut him next year, he has a $70 million dead cap hit. So
yeah, no, I know they probably at least got one more year. They tried to get better with Waller. He sucks. He's okay when he plays, but he's like about the last 3 years, a couple with the Raiders, and now he had like 2 or 3 very good years with the Raiders. Got big contract. Then all of a sudden he's hurt all the time. So it's a shame.
Yeah. I agree. I still don't understand why they didn't just either franchise tag or give Daniel Jones like a nice 1-year contract and just say, all right, prove it to us again, 1 more year, and then go from there. But I don't know. That's obviously sailed. There's just not much. It's Saquon on the Giants and it's Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall on the Jets. Like, you're starting those guys and you're not even thinking about anyone else. So, except for maybe their defenses. But the next game that we have is the Jags at the Steelers. Jaguars win. They're 6-2. I think they're a top 10 scoring offense, but it's just not coming together for Trevor Lawrence in terms of fantasy. Now, I don't necessarily think he's playing poorly, but fact of the matter is he's QB 14. He hasn't had a game over 20 points this year. Only 2 games over 18 points. Another game where he just can't seem to get 2 touchdowns or whatever it is. I don't know if it's just ETN's dominating or I don't know. What's your overall thoughts on Trevor Lawrence? Do you think he's playing better than his fantasy performance shows?
Yeah, there's two things here, there's there's the game, and then there's the fantasy part. And, obviously the Jags are a pretty good team, 6-2 so far. They seem to be able to take care of their business. They got good players. The hype was Trevor Lawrence is going to the next level. So whatever that next level was, maybe Trevor Lawrence isn't going to the next level, and what you see right now out of Trevor Lawrence is what you're going to get. My God, he had 292 yards. That's almost 300 yards and stuff like that. I know one touchdown, and I don't know. It's hard to be dissatisfied, but if you listen to the offseason BS, that Trevor Lawrence is going to take the next step, then of course you're disappointed because you drafted him. You drafted him really high, probably based upon that influence of information. So,
yeah. Yep, I agree. And at some point, it's just like you said, it's just this who he is, like we're 2.5 years into his career now. And again, I keep mentioning it. We've seen one stretch of like elite play of like 4 or 5 games, and that's about it. So,
okay, but you have to throw away the rookie year. You have to
understand.
Just wipe it away. That can't be any evaluation whatsoever. So here we are. What are we? A year and a half into Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. So,
yeah. No, I understand. And that's part of it. Like people would throw that away. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but I want to see improvement. But again, I think he is playing better than what the fantasy numbers show. So one of the reasons is because Travis Etienne's just a monster and is getting a bunch of, but again, 3 straight games of 2 touchdowns or something like that. This week he didn't have a touchdown, but he was still awesome. He had 150 total yards with 3 catches. He did have a touchdown. Sorry,
yeah,
he
caught a
receiving
touchdown pass. Yeah,
every time we talk about the Jags, I'll keep saying it. I was absolutely wrong about this guy. It was never about the talent. It was more like I didn't think he would lead the NFL in carries, which is what he's at right now. He has 151 carries in 8 games, so almost 19 carries a game. And on top of that, he has the 5th most targets. So the dude is he's an all-around back. And
you're feeding him, man.
Yeah, he played 88% of the snaps, and he missed a little time because he got dinged up. I was a little worried that, did he get hurt? But no, he came back. He's fine. I just thought, Tank Bigsby, them drafting him in the 3rd round, them talking about him all off season.
That hasn't
you'd get
worked.
A little bit more. No,
yeah,
it hasn't.
He fumbled. Yeah, so
I know that his little time that he played, he came in and fumbled.
How about Evan Ingram? No.
Yeah, dude's been awesome.
10 targets, 10 receptions.
Yep, he's been the most consistent. Besides like Kelsey, I think he's been the most consistent tight end because
definitely.
Hawkinson's had 1 dud, 1 disappointing game. Andrews has. Hawkinson's had a couple disappointing games. Kittle's had disappointing games. Laporta has had a couple disappointing games. Evan Ingram, who's tight end 7 on the year, has not scored less than he's had 1 disappointing game. So in half PPR. But yeah, he's been Mr. Consistent. Ridley, you got something out of him, 6 for 83. I still think it's going to get going with him. Like I do, but it's hard right now to at least you're getting 6 for 83 and Christian Kirk had a down game, but I'm not too worried about it. It will be interesting to see with Zay Jones when he comes back. He hasn't played since week 1. With how that changes things. I don't know when he's actually going to be coming back. I think they're on a bye next week. So, and then the Steelers side, Kenny Pickett gets hurt. Yeah.
If you're a Steeler fan or you got Steeler players, I have Najee and Kenny Pickett, and it's like a stab in the eye with an ice pick,
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's bad. It's just so bad.
Pickett.
Jalen, go ahead.
Yeah, Pickett looks like he hurt his shoulder or ribs
Ribs, yeah.
Look. It didn't look very good. So I'd be shocked if he plays. So Najee Harris in the run game, something isn't working, man. 7 carries, 13 yards. So the whole Steelers in the run game.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know, man. And I bought into the hype, but the Steelers retooled their offensive line and all this stuff.
Well, and they looked amazing in the preseason. Remember that?
Oh, they did. They
looked absolutely amazing. So I'm ready to throw the preseason out. I'll watch it for fun, but like in terms of these people look good, I'm ready to throw it out because a lot of people looked good that don't. Yeah, Najee, I mean, at least you got 5 for 42 if you play in PPR. It's like, okay, I got double-digit points, barely. Jalen Warren, everyone wants him to play. He's averaging 3.9 yards a carry, so he's not doing much better than what Najee's doing.
Yeah, he's not. It ain't working for him either. Yeah. So
they play Thursday night, so I don't think Pickett's going to play. I mean, it doesn't really change much. I don't think it changes much with Mitch Trubisky. Like, I kind of just view them very similarly, like, in terms of the production they're going to give. Deontay, he did have 8 for 85 and 14 targets, so he's still a target hog. Just can't seem to catch a touchdown. I think he should have had one, or he dropped it, or it was overthrown or something. But 14 targets, like, you can't ignore that. So he's probably the only must. I mean, him and Pickens are probably the only must starts on this team, I would say. They do feel like, when I was looking at it this week, it's like Steelers are 4-2. It felt like kind of a fraud, 4-2, and I don't know. It still kind of feels that way. So I don't know. Anything else from this game, Dad?
No, not really. I mean, Jaguars are a good team. The Steelers are not. So.
Yep. On to a shocking game, the Falcons at the Titans. We'll start with the Falcons. Heineke took over. I don't really understand. Like, Arthur Smith doesn't disclose things. Desmond Ridder went into concussion protocol, cleared it, and then he said they like to be conservative with those things and don't want to throw him back out there. Ridder came out in the second half with like a baseball hat on, so he wasn't even thinking about going back in. And Heineke looked better, honestly. He didn't look like amazing, but he looked better than Ridder. They were down, I think, 14-3 when Heineke came in, and they had like 3 scoring drives when Heineke came in, a field goal, touchdown, and to start the first half or second half. So I don't know, Dad. Is this going to be Heineke's job? Do you think taking over?
Well, yeah. We're on the outside looking in, and we're saying, I don't know. We're not seeing it. I mean, Desmond Ridder is okay. Maybe he's still learning. What do you want to do with this team? You're at 500. You want to try and move forward, make a playoff push. I mean, Heineke had some good, a couple of good years in Washington. He seems to come in and light the team up, on fire, get things rolling, and then he kind of hits a little, later in the season, he hits a little bit of a brick wall. So, but I think it's time for him.
I think so. I mean, he just looked, again, 3 straight scoring drives in the second half. Like, I don't know. Bijan scored his first rushing touchdown. Again, we kind of talked about it. Like, has he been a disappointment? And I'd say at this point, yes. Like, only 62 yards total and a touchdown. I don't think it's his fault. Like, I think he's an awesome player. But you drafted him to be a top 3-5 running back, and he's RB12. And that is with last week where he only had 0.3 points because of the headaches and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get that top 3 running back potential type of player, that 17-plus points, 18 points a game in half PPR.
My God, give the guy 20 carries one game and see what he can do,
Please.
It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, he doesn't play in the goal line, really. Like, I don't know. It's unfortunate. Drake London, 555. He left in the third quarter with a groin injury, didn't come back. And then you think, okay, Kyle Pitts is going to do well. It's like, no, it was Kadero Hodge and Matt Collins, and I don't know, man. It just, I don't know if it's Kyle Pitts. I don't know if it's the coach and the offensive scheme or what it is. Like, that being said, Kyle Pitts is still tight end 12 on the year because tight ends are a wasteland. Well, actually this year, not so much, but I don't know. It's tough to see with all of this. So more exciting on the Titans side. Will Levis comes in and the dude looks awesome. Has the torch been passed at Levis? Tannehill to Levis.
It better be. I'm sorry.
It has to, right?
Yeah. I mean, come on. Let's let the guy play. And obviously he came in and lit it up. And it was really kind of funny. I don't know if I've ever seen really long bombs to DeAndre Hopkins like that before. He's just not a deep threat receiver, but it worked yesterday. So it's like, what the hell?
Yeah. And it's funny because like when we watched Will Levis all the way back in like February or March, and I think both of us kind of said like, this guy has the talent. Like you watch him and it's like he has something, right? Like he has the arm talent. And then I personally, I don't know about you, I felt like I got influenced by a lot of like what other people were saying and where he went in the draft, and kind of like soured on him a little bit. And then, again, it's one game. He's one of 3 quarterbacks to throw 4 touchdowns in his first start. And one of them was Marcus Mariota. So we saw how that turned out, right? So like it's one game, but he looked awesome. And it just kind of like, this is the type of player we saw the potential from. And I hope he takes over. What do you think they trade Tannehill? Like, we have a bunch of quarterbacks getting hurt. Like, would you just trade him to the Jets or the?
Yeah, if you get an
Vikings?
offer. Yeah, if you get an offer, I'd say see you later. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, and it's time to move on. The guy, he's done everything. He took him to the AFC Championship game one year. So
number 1 seed.
And I think, in another year they were the number 1 seed. So, and I'd do the same thing with Derrick Henry. I think, he's going to walk at the end of the year, and he's 30 years old. He's still got it. He had pretty good numbers. He had over 100 yards yesterday. So, he's still carrying the ball 22 times, quite a few times in a game and stuff like that. Is it time to turn it over to Tajay Spears? Could be, but if you get offers on those guys, time to move on, or they're just going to walk.
Or even DeAndre Hopkins, like another guy. It would kind of suck for Levis. Like, all right, you're our starter, but we're taking away DeAndre Hopkins. But at the same time, like if you can get something valuable for him, and that was the perfect showcase game. Henry 22 for 101. If and 4 catches for 20 yards. If they're going to be in games and winning or close games, he's going to get 20 plus carries. That's just how it's working out. So you hope that they are in these games. Hopkins was awesome, 4 for 128 and 3 touchdowns. I doubt a lot of people didn't start him because they're worried about it with Levis and Malik Willis as the potential quarterback. And I think it's a good reminder of like sometimes we overthink things, and obviously if you had better options, go for it. But if you're thinking like, I'm going to start KJ Osborne over DeAndre Hopkins, like, no, just go with the talent sometimes. Like, don't overthink it. Go with the talent, and it will pay off sometimes. So if he does get traded, I mean, Treylon Burks is an interesting guy to think about, but not much else to talk about with that game. So we'll move on. I think we got a few more games here for us. The Texans at the Panthers. Panthers get their first win of the year, which is good. I always like it when the last team that hasn't won wins a game. I don't want to see anyone go, lose every single game. CJ Stroud did not look good. This was probably his worst game as in his career as a rookie. 16 for 24, 140 yards. I don't understand. I feel like they came into this game and they said, Panthers run defense sucks. We're going to run the ball 30 times. And, like, it was not effective at all. You know, Damian Pierce, 12 for 46. Devin Singletary, 10 for 30. It just felt like, I don't know, like, why not throw the ball a little bit more with your stud quarterback? But I think they just had this game plan of, like, we're going to do this to the Panthers, and it just didn't work out. So disappointing from all Texans players. Damian Pierce had a touchdown, but then it was called back, and then they gave it to the fullback, which sucked. Tank Dell didn't do much. Nico Collins didn't do anything. So just disappointing all around. Like, do you think it's just, Dad, you always mention this ever since I can remember, teams start figuring you out, whether it's baseball and you're this young pitcher that is lighting it up, and then you second time around, are teams starting to figure out Stroud, you think? Or
yeah, they might. They might. They're able to scheme a defense. They got some tape. They look at the guy and they go, "Yeah, let's. We need to do this, this, and this. To take him out. But it just seems the whole offensive output of Houston was just garbage. The 16 of 24 for Stroud.
off a bye, too.
What's that?
Off a bye as well, They just came off their bye.
It's strange. So, it wasn't the scoreboard wasn't lighting up, 15 to 13. So, neither team really had it really good. So,
yeah. And we see this all the time, and with a lot of things where, we'll talk about it later with like the 49ers, but we see it with these guys that come on the scene and everyone wants to crown them as like the next coming of Tom Brady, and then they're irrelevant, and not irrelevant, but in a couple of years later, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. You have to make adjustments. Like, that's why I was always been like, I liked what I saw from Stroud and saw what he was doing, but it's like, okay, let's see, like, when teams start to figure him out a little bit, does he figure it out and adjust? So we'll see how that goes. Still rostering Stroud and Nico Collins and those guys. Panthers, I'm sure it felt good for the Panthers and Bryce Young. Like, I'm sure a lot of people were talking about Panthers should have taken CJ Stroud right after the first 6 weeks of the season, and it probably felt good for them to beat Stroud and the Texans. Bryce Young had a really pretty solid game, 235 yards and a touchdown. Their run game, man. Miles Sanders, I was really high on him. I think maybe you were too, Dad. Like, man, is it time to like drop him potentially? Like,
yeah, I don't know. You're not starting him because he's not doing anything. I mean,
he was full participant all week, and he played 12 snaps. It looks like.
Wow.
12 snaps, 2 carries.
We had there was a sleeper update yesterday morning on Sunday morning that said Chuba Hubbard was going to be the man, for Carolina this week, and yeah, he was the man. I mean, he had 15 carries for 28 yards. So, jeez.
That's like the only reason why I wouldn't drop Miles Sanders is because Chuba Hubbard did not look good at all. He has looked better than Miles Sanders this year, but this game it was just atrocious.
It's too bad the running game. Rookie quarterback, you need a semi-legit running game and stuff like that. So there's nothing there for Carolina.
No,
the good thing is if you got Adam Thielen, man, you need to be starting that guy every week because he got 11 targets and 8 receptions yesterday. So.
Yeah, he had his floor game, and his floor game was 8 for 72. So you're fine. You're happy with that. That's 11.2 half PPR points. Still wide receiver 8 on the year, and he's had his bye week already. So he's averaging 16 points. It's insane. Like, he's been a absolute stud. But yeah, like, not much talked about. Jonathan Mingo, 4 for 62. Okay, like, definitely add Chuba Hubbard if he's still out there on waivers. He needs to be added because, again, Miles Sanders, full participant all week long, and he had 45 snaps. Chuba Hubbard did to Miles Sanders' 10. And even Raheem Blackshear had 10 snaps. Sorry, Miles Sanders 12. Raheem Blackshear 10 snaps. So, and more carries than Miles Sanders. So I don't know. I really don't know. It seems weird. Like, in terms of dynasty, the more we play and learn about dynasty, it seemed like he and Josh Jacobs is another one where when a guy has a career, their best year 4 years into their career, especially a running back, it feels like, okay, maybe I should trade this guy at their highest peak now, like, yeah, that's the case with Miles Sanders. His best year was last year and got a big contract and everything, and just not panning out. So, but good for the Panthers to get a win. Bad for the Bears, who have their pick. Next game, we got 2 more for you. Rams at the Cowboys. Man, I thought this game was going to be kind of a close game, to be honest. Go ahead.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford got knocked around, and it's like that guy ain't going to take too much more of that. So
yeah, he hurt his thumb, I think it was.
Yeah, I know. Did you see the play?
Well, I saw the original play in which he hurt it and left, and then he came back. I think it was in the second half, and then they threw him like a 2-point conversion pass. Like,
that wasn't the play. Okay.
No, I think he heard it before that, and then that's the play that like knocked him out for the rest of the game. Yeah. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you throwing him a pass? And it was a bad pass, and he had to get down for it, and yeah. So that's what it was weird. Like, that's the game. That's the play which it knocked him out, but he heard it before. So that was just very, very weird, and it sucks. It sucks if you're a Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp manager. You're a little worried about if Stafford's not there, for sure. Very worried if Stafford's not there. Those guys did not perform. It was just they got down quickly, and
that's 2 weeks in a row for Kupp that he's had not very good games. I wonder what's going on. Up to me, it's got to be the quarterback numbers this week, and if I remember correctly, last week for the Rams were not very good. So it's not. I see Cooper Kupp got 10 targets, so he only caught 4 passes. So something's not right there.
Yeah. The Cowboys, we do got to give them credit. Like, their defense is really good. I know it's, again, kind of a week-to-week season this year, and Cowboys have been embarrassed, but also they've looked like the best team in the NFL a couple times. And they kind of do it in this game, everyone. That's what makes the Cowboys, if you're a Cowboys fan, should be excited. You saw special teams, you saw defense, you saw the offense, all phases just kind of dominate. So, in terms of the one thing I do want to touch on real quick before we move to the Cowboys is the backfield of the Rams. We kind of mentioned this last week, where obviously Darrell Henderson had the better week, but we kind of said they were basically just one drive to you. And it wouldn't surprise me if Royce Freeman had the better week this next week, right? And that's what happened. Royce Freeman had 4 more snaps. They basically had like a 50-50 usage. They were taking you take this drive, and Royce Freeman happened to be on the drives that were a little more successful for the Rams, and he got 44 yards and a touchdown. So just keep that in mind with Darrell Henderson. Like, you're going to need a touchdown in order if you're going to start him. Same with Royce Freeman. But both of them should be rostered at least until Kyron comes back. Henderson did have 3 catches for 54 yards, so that kind of helped you there. But, yeah, not much to talk about on that side. On the Cowboys side, we saw Dak have his numbers coming off a bye are pretty insane. Like, someone was saying, like, his numbers, like 6-7 games coming off a bye, where like he's put up like 25 fantasy points or more, and he did it again this week. Came off a bye. I think he's probably the QB1. Yeah, he's the QB3 this week, but he had his first big game, almost 30 points. Actually, back-to-back big games for him. So, are you back into Dak as kind of a must-start quarterback, Dad?
Well, I don't think I was ever off of him, but again, you're going to get what you're going to get. So yesterday he had 40 fantasy points. So that's obviously going to skew the average for the season. But, he's still, to me, a startable quarterback. But I didn't, I shied away from him in drafting and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Hopefully this is. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, other people like him, so yeah, go ahead.
No, I did as well, but hopefully this is the direction that the offense takes. I hope, except for if you're a Tony Pollard manager. I'm surprised about this. Like, Tony Pollard not having the breakout season that we expected, I guess. He's had 3 of the last 4 weeks under double-digit points. He's RB17 on the year, so he's not killing you, but I don't know, Dad. Are we worried about Tony Pollard? He's never going to get to that top 5 running back potential.
Well, holy crap! I mean, if you thought he was going to get to that point, before you drafted him, then I think you were wrong. He best season was with him and Zeke, so they kind of shared carries, and we were all wondering, and you included, said Tony Pollard's never been, the what do they call it? The bell cow running back, even in college.
Yeah.
And so and guess what? It came true. So I don't know. You got to do your research, folks.
Yeah. And I think we have seen cases like Austin Eckler's one of them where, obviously he wasn't the bell cow when Melvin Gordon was there, and then Melvin Gordon left, and he panned out to be. He's been a top 5 fantasy running back since Melvin Gordon's left the Chargers in 2019 or 2020. So it has worked out, but yeah, I don't know. The explosive plays just aren't there. Last couple years, if there's certain plays where I'm seeing and say Tony Pollard would have taken that for 40 yards. In past years. So I don't know if it's also he had a broken leg in the playoffs last year. So I don't know if that's part of it. If it's, he's playing, he can't be explosive because he's out there 75% of the snaps. I don't know. It kind of sucks to see, but I still think you're going to get better weeks from him from now on. I still think he'll be closer to a top 15 running back than he has been the last few weeks of, 3 of the last 4 weeks, double-digit points. So I think he'll get back to what he was doing weeks 1 to 3, where he's averaging 14, 15 points a game. CeeDee Lamb, finally, they fed him the ball. I think he's the number 1 fantasy scorer out of anyone, quarterbacks included. So this week, finally, it's man, it doesn't – sometimes football, I know it's a complicated sport, but sometimes it feels like it's not complicated. It's throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb. Throw the ball to your best player, right? Throw the ball to A.J. Brown. 14 targets. I think it was a career high, 158 yards, 12 catches, 2 touchdowns. He was awesome. So, Ferguson caught a touchdown. Brandon Cooks, 50 for a touchdown. Anything else you want to touch on this game, Dad?
No, not really. Like you said, 14 targets to CeeDee Lamb. So it's get your best guy involved,
Yep. Yes, indeed. And we'll move on to the last game of this video, the kind of sad one, Vikings at the Packers. Kirk Cousins, is it official? 20 Achilles?
No, I don't. As of about an hour ago or so, I don't think they announced it, or maybe I haven't seen it yet. But
usually MRIs on an Achilles injury are just to kind of confirm. They're not to check, right? So
they had one of those slow motion videos of his foot calf area, and just I seen this before when Kevin Durant roasted his Achilles there a number of years ago, and you see it, you see the calf kind of quiver, it's oh shit, and then Kirk Cousins, picks his leg up, and so it's damn, that's rough.
Feels and I'm just double checking, there's been more like Achilles injuries this year than like J.K. Dobbins, Rodgers, Cousins.
Oh, I see. Sorry to interrupt, but I see on it just says source. Yeah. Vikings QB. So they're not. I don't think the Vikings are. They haven't announced it yet, but yeah, there's been a few. So
yeah, it sucks because the Vikings are 4-4 now after they started off 0-3. Like they felt like they were in it. Like they could. I don't think they were going to win the Super Bowl, but they felt like they were in it. Cousins, and this was questioned. I remember people in Minnesota questioning like Jaron Hall, 5th-round rookie. Is he really? We've seen it a couple times now. Is he really our number one option, number one backup? Like we've seen it. Man, it's just showing how valuable backup quarterbacks are as well this year. So I don't know. Do they trade for someone, Dad? Do you think?
Yeah, they could be in the Tannehill mix. I heard. I read. Hey, Tannehill should go here. The Vikings, the Jets. So yeah, I don't know. It's too bad. There's a lot of Kirk Cousin haters out there because, of course, he never got the Vikings to the promised land. He always had good games and stuff like that. It's kind of similar to, I think, Matthew Stafford in a way, when he played with the Lions. He always had, it was good games, kept his team in there, and sometimes sometimes you couldn't lead the team to victory, or you got walloped in the playoffs or something like that. So everybody, and of course you make a shitload of money, and everybody wants something for their money or something like that. And so Cousins is, he'll probably be done. So
it's unfortunate for sure. And I mean, for your fantasy teams as well, he was QB6 on the year. He's having a good year. Sucks for
that's a big
Hawkinson.
Hit.
Yeah, sucks for Hawkinson, Addison, Jefferson. Now even more question marks of this team. Do they rush to bring him back now, or they have a really favorable schedule? They play the Falcons, Saints, Broncos, Bears, Raiders the next 5 weeks. They can win all those games, but who's their quarterback? So the issue with bringing in quarterbacks and why teams don't really trade for quarterbacks is you have to learn all. You start in April learning the system and the game book and the playbook, to come in and on October in November 1st and expect to pick up a game book. So can they find? I don't know who's out there who's been in the Sean McVay system. That's where Kevin O'Connell comes from. They might have to target someone like that, but. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks to see. In terms of fantasy, though, Madison's another one to be worried about. Is the Cam Akers slowly taking over? He's getting a little bit more value touches, although he didn't really play in the second half. It was weird. So I don't know. I'm just not excited about Madison, especially now. KJ Osborne had a good game. Hawkinson had a good game. Addison had a good game. But, again, it's just kind of all overshadowed by
Yeah, and honestly, with a rookie quarterback, we don't know, how that's going to affect Hawkinson and Jefferson and Osborne and all those guys. It could really diminish their output. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Packers side, they just look bad. I don't know. Jordan Love I think he has the lowest completion percentage in the league, and Aaron Jones is not completely. I think AJ Dillon. No, at one point he was leading the team in receiving yards. Christian Watson doesn't look good. Romeo Doubs got a touchdown, which fine, it kind of saves you, but man, I don't want to start any of these guys.
Nobody.
Good.
And Jordan Love started off all right for at least a couple of weeks. I think they got, and there you go. I think they got some game tape on them, and then they were able to, defensively scheme for the other teams, and we see where we're at now. Start thinking about your draft there, Packer fans.
I mean, it's funny though. If you're a 35-year-old Packer fan, you've never experienced this before.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So I'm not really feeling sorry for him necessarily, but yeah, it's different. It's different than rookie quarterback with Jordan Love. This is his fourth year now, and that makes a difference. You expect to see a little bit more, and yeah, the completion percentage thing's bad. So I just want to avoid all these guys, to be honest. But we'll finish up there, and we'll be back looking at the last other 7 games. Got a full videos this week because there's no teams on bye. So as always, like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys on next time.